All right, guys. Hello and welcome to the Hive Live. I'm Rachel, and I am so glad that you are here with us today. Whether you're joining us live on Zoom or catching this on demand on YouTube later, you are in the right place. Hive Live exists to help agents build real business with clarity, confidence, and consistency, not just chase the next trend. Now, if you're watching this on replay and if you ever want to join us live, you can always register for our weekly Hive Live Zoom session, which is every Thursday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. by signing up at thereagenthive.com. Thereagenthive.com. And if you prefer to watch on your own time, all of our Hive Live sessions are also available on demand on our YouTube channel. Now, today's conversation is the one that every agent needs, especially those in their first few years in the business. Today, we are going to be talking about surviving the first 5 years in real estate. And we're super excited to have Frank Warren with us here. He is a real agent based just outside of Memphis in Tennessee. He brings a rare combination of deep financial expertise and proven real estate success because before real estate, he spent over a decade as vice president in financial services, and he's since built a $1 million real estate career, earning recognition year after year in the multi-million-dollar club. What really sets Frank apart, though, is his heart for service, leadership, and community. From serving as an elected school board member to leading a Rotary at the district level to being a coach for fellow real estate agents, Frank exemplifies what it looks like to build a business that also builds people and pours into the community. We're thrilled to learn from his experience today, so we are going to jump right in and we are going to welcome Frank Warren. Welcome, Frank.
Great. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. Um, Very touched to hear all the things that you shared with the group, and I'm excited to be here today. I have actually given this presentation a number of times with my previous brokerage, and it's something I'm really passionate about. And so the title of our presentation is Surviving the First 5 Years. I want to start off with a simple question, and I'm assuming everybody can see the slide presentation. So my question is this: what is the failure rate in the real estate industry? Or to rephrase that, how many agents that are entering the industry today will exit the industry over the next 5 years? And feel free to chime in if you have an answer.
I don't know that I know the answer to that specific question, but I was looking at some NAR statistics, and I want to say like 70% of agents in 2025 didn't close a single deal. Kind of relates to this, and I would say if you didn't make any money, that's probably not success. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that exact same statistic when Josh brought that up. So I was going to say definitely over 70%, maybe even 80%.
You're both correct. I did see the stat that Josh was referencing, and that is shocking to me to see that 7 out of 10 agents did not make a single dime in real estate last year. But in terms of the answer to this question, according to NAR, it's 85%. So think about that for a second. More than 8 out of 10 agents who start the business today are going to find something else to do vocationally within the next 5 years. And as I process that, I mean, that's an amazing statistic to me. And I think about it, the question is why? Why are so many agents gung ho about getting into this industry, excited about the prospects of helping other people, and then having to leave? And there are a host of reasons why people are not successful. But one of the main reasons or main drivers for that, in my opinion, is the fact that people don't know how to build a career that will help them fund their lifestyle. And so that's what we're going to look at today. But before we get started, I think it'd probably be good just to give a brief introduction of myself. Starting off with my family. At the left side of that picture is my son, Cal. He is 21, and he's actually in trade school right now studying to become an industrial electrician. Next to him is Samuel, who is almost 23. He graduated from college last year, and he's working for a construction company that does a lot of high-end engineering work. And then in the middle is my beautiful bride, Sue Ellen. We're going to celebrate our 25th anniversary next month, and it's hard to believe a quarter of a century has gone by, but it's been amazing. She is the director for a not-for-profit ministry and for a church in East Memphis. And then next to me is my other son, Jed, who is also 21, and he and Cal are twins. He finished up at that trade school last summer, is now working for a manufacturing firm that produces high scale transformers, industrial and transformers. We live in Carterville, Tennessee, which is a suburb of Memphis. We moved out here in 2011. And as Rachel alluded to, real estate's not my first career. I have a background in finance, and I spent 15 years working in the investment industry. I made the decision to switch into real estate sales full time back in 2014. And I just made the move to Real Broker last month. I'm excited to be a part of this great organization. And then on top of that, I have been an investor in real estate since 2005. We've owned multiple rental properties for over 20 years now. And I would argue a lot of these gray hairs you see up here are results of the tenants I've had to deal with over the years. But it's been a very good endeavor for us. But enough about me. I have a belief that anytime you attend an educational program or a classroom setting, the instructor is trying to answer at a minimum one of the three foundational questions: why, what, and how. In terms of what we're looking at today, which is how to build a successful career in real estate and survive that first 5 years, I would argue that why is the aspirational goals agents will set for what they're pursuing in their business. How is the processes and procedures they use to achieve their success, but what is the pathways they're going to walk along to be successful. In terms of our presentation today, we're going to strictly focus on the what question, which I'm going to call the pathways to success. A fun fact about me and my family is we love the national parks and we try to go visit them as much as we can. And right here's a picture of Sue Ellen and myself in front of Mount Rainier, which is in Washington State. And that we were we were up there in August of 2024, and there were a bunch of people hiking to the top. And as I was putting this presentation together, I thought this would be a good illustration of what I'm referring to in terms of pathways to success. Those hikers, those mountaineers were climbing along a certain pathway to reach the top. And that's what we're going to look at today is pathways towards success. I have identified 5 broad pathways that agents can proceed along to generate business and grow their career and help them achieve their goals. And they're listed right here. And we're going to go through each of them individually. Now, I believe that if you're a new agent getting into the business, there's a lot of different options and opportunities to grow your business the way that you want to. And a matter of fact, if you were to interview 25 different agents, you might get 25 different pathways to success. I feel like these 5 are going to pretty much capture each of those different pathways. So starting off is what I'm referring to as external lead generation. And the way I would define this is very simple. A real estate agent relies on leads that are generated from external sources. Examples of that would be a relocation department. So let's say, for example, your brokerage has a presence in markets around the country. You're going to have people constantly moving into and out of those markets. Well, relocation departments help to facilitate those moves, and they connect people who are buying or selling during this moving process with agents in different markets. And so that's a great way to generate leads. Another option is to join a real estate team. And if you're a brand new agent, this might be a good opportunity for you to learn the business early on. And a real estate team is very simple. You've got a seasoned agent who acts as the senior principal. And then you have junior agents who are newer to the business who operate underneath or with that senior agent. And they receive a lot of leads through that team structure. Another option would be online lead generation. And there are multiple forms of this. If you think about the various websites out there between Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, they are generating a lot of traffic to their sites, and there's opportunities for them to capture information on those visitors, which in turn could could become a lead that they're going to forward to agents who subscribe to their service. Option of this are these independent companies seeking to generate leads that they're passing along to agents. I don't know about you guys, but I'm constantly getting text messages and emails from various vendors looking to sell me leads. Have any of you experienced that?
It feels like every day I get a
Yeah,
text or a call.
almost daily.
Yeah, almost daily. So, but that is a way to generate leads and build a business that you want. So the pros of external lead generation are: one, it's a very quick way to generate business. If you get started on your own, it could be a long runway before you're able to get your business off the ground. This potentially would be a way for you to generate leads almost from day one. Secondly, that would in turn lead to increased earnings early on within the first couple of months of your business. And then third, if you're a brand new agent, this is a great way to learn the business. So let's say you're part of a team structure and you do have a very experienced, seasoned agent who's generated a lot of business that they in turn are passing along to you. This person will be a resource for the newer agent to learn about the business. The cons are it's very expensive. You're either going to pay a fee up front for the lead, or you're going to pay a percentage of the commission fee or commission that you had on the backside. And a lot of times the fees that you're paying are at least half of the net amount that the agent would own as a commission. Second, it limits your opportunities for growth. So let's go back and look at that team structure again. Usually, if you have a seasoned agent still in production, they're going to keep all the best business for themselves. Either they're going to focus strictly on the seller clients and pass along the buyer leads, or they're going to keep the higher end transactions, such as the luxury business, and pass along the lower, lower end stuff to their teammates. So if you are a new agent and you're working on a team, you might be only available to work hire leads for the first year or 2 years of your business, and you might not have the opportunity to work with sellers, and that could stunt your growth in this business. And then the last con is dependent on external sources. Well, if you are using, let's say, one of these websites such as Zillow or Realtor.com, they could have a change in their business model or even a disruption of the business. And there's the possibility that funnel of leads, that source of leads could dry up overnight and you have no control over that. So that is the first pathway to success, which is external lead generation. I'm curious, does anybody on the call actually pursue leads along this line?
I've used an external online lead generation company before. And, they say like, oh, you're going to get 20 quality leads a month or something like that. And I will say the first month, I did get a lot of leads, followed up with all of them, did the whole thing. But then the second month, I didn't get as many. And the third month, I don't think I got any. So it kind of fell off a little bit, at least the one that I was using.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's a very common refrain or a very common story. If you're depending on some other entity to help you drive your business, there's a limiting factor in how well you're going to be able to function going forward. So the next pathway to success is personality. And basically, this is who we are. It will influence our success, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, whether you enjoy working with people or you prefer working on tasks. That's just a function of who we are. So the pros are, if you have the type of personality that draws people to you, that could really turbocharge the growth in your business. The cons are, if you have the type of personality where it's a little bit more challenging for you to get out and talk to people, meet people, that in turn could also limit your ability to grow your business. There are a lot of different personality tests out there. One of my favorite is the DISC personality profile, and it basically determines whether you're an extrovert or introvert or whether you like to work with people or not. The way that DISC frames it is the DISC, which you can see there on this graphic. I had participated in Ninja Selling, and they took the DISC personality profile and reconfigured it as a way to better understand the different personality types. And the way they phrase it is power, party, peace, and perfection. And so the way to view this graphic is the upper two personality types are extroverts, the bottom two personality types are introverts, and those on the right side of the screen are enjoy working with people more, and those on the left side of the screen enjoy working on tasks or projects more. In my experience, what I've seen is those that are the extroverted and part or people-oriented personality types, such as the party people, they're kind of a magnet to draw people towards them. And they tend to have a advantage in growing their business where somebody who's in the perfection or peace might have a little bit more of a struggle because they're more introverted in nature. Now, it doesn't mean if you are, let's say, a perfection personality type, which is what I am, that you can't be successful. It just means that you've got to understand who you are and figure out a way to grow your business in a way that is a good fit for yourself. So this is, I think, a really interesting way to grow your business. And I've seen a lot of people who do really well. They don't have a system in place. They're kind of a force of nature. And it's just a function of who they are and how they're constantly engaging in people. Have any of you done a DISC personality profile? Where do you lie on this?
I've done one. I was mostly in the C, cautious and critical, with a little bit in the D of dominant and demanding.
I've done many of these over the course of my corporate career. There was one that was a little bit different, that was more color coded, and it's all ends up being about the same. And I'm more of the perfection and dominant as well, similar to Josh. And the green color spectrum of whatever that other one was.
I feel like I've done the disc profile, and it's so funny because I see myself as a C, perfection or cautious and critical. But Josh always says, no, you're a D, you're a power, dominant and demanding personality.
This is fascinating to me because the people on the call, all four of us have identified ourselves as being more on the perfection side. And based on the statistics I've seen, roughly 10 to 15% of the population is in that C or perfection group. A majority of the people are either in the party or in the power groupings. So it's kind of interesting to me. Have y'all encountered any, let's say, obstacles you've had to overcome based on your personality type to grow your business?
I'm very much nuts and bolts. Let's look at the facts, and I don't get too emotional. So having to deal with the empathetic side of some people's situations is something I've had to grow in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really funny that Dakota said that because I struggle with that too. I tend to be very straightforward, and most of the time I have to go, Josh, is this a good way to say this? Or if Josh isn't around, ChatGPT has become my friend. Like, is this polite and professional? Like sometimes I feel like I'm just way too straightforward.
So one of the things I've learned over the last decade is, okay, very analytical nature. I lean on data. So instead of me trying to become somebody I'm not, let's just lean into that. So I've created a lot of report sets to help me identify the market. And over time, people have come to respect and value the information I'm providing. And so even if I'm dealing with an extrovert, let's say in the party personality type, they're not going to want to spend a lot of time on data, but they see what I'm able to provide. And there's a level of trust that I'm an expert in this area and they know they can count on what I'm providing to them. All righty, there's the personality side. Let's move forward and look at the next pathway to success, which I'm going to call the sphere of influence. And this is very simple. These are the people who know us, like us, and trust us. And examples of that would be our family, friends, our neighbors, just anybody we interact with on a very common basis. The pros are these are going to be the folks who are most receptive to our success, and they have an interest in seeing us do well. The cons are it's very difficult to change a perception. So let's say your situation where you're newer, younger agent, you're getting the business, and you've got a long time family friend who you grew up around. It might be hard for them to perceive you as a real estate expert, opposed to the 10-year-old or teenager who's coming over their house and swimming at the pool all those years. So if your family and your friends think of you in a certain way, that could be a challenge to change those perceptions to view you as a real estate expert. Next, it's limited in scope. Obviously, we all have a sphere of people that we interact with, but ultimately, there's a limit to how many people we could truly know and stay connected with. I've seen some studies that show that on average, the numbers between 120 and 150 people in terms of the ceiling regarding how many folks you can truly know, truly be a part of your sphere. And then it takes some work to stay on top of mind. Have any of you encountered a situation where you have a friend that you haven't been in touch with for a couple months, and then you come to find out they just put their house on the market with another agent?
Even better, they like to ask free questions and get your advice and then still list with somebody else.
Exactly. That's happened to all of us, and I'll be honest with you, it's extremely painful. What I found is it's not a function of me regarding that relationship with this other person. Often it's just a function of me not staying in front of them and helping them to remember that I'm a real estate professional. And that's the challenge is need to continue to cultivate that relationship, but you also need to cultivate it in a way that they associate you with real estate. Okay. Next, marketing and advertising. And this is very simple. It's just paid efforts to make people aware of who you are and that you're in real estate. And there's a host of examples. I just put some of them up here, such as direct mail or farm in a neighborhood, buying ads on Google, buying ads on social media, TV and radio ads. Do y'all have anybody in your market, any agents in your market that are doing radio ads?
I don't see, or I don't know of any in particular that do radio ads, but I know a lot of restaurants in our area have a big screen with like sponsors. And so, you can pay to have your business card put up on the screen.
So sports talk is really big in my market. I used to listen to it every day. And there was an agent, longtime agent, who started advertising on sports radio back in the 90s. And I started hearing his ads. And then we eventually did a transaction together about 8 years ago. And I mentioned that I first encountered him on those ads. And it kind of made his day that I remembered him from 20 years ago based on his efforts to promote his business on radio. I also have on here bus stops. We've got one brokerage in the Memphis market that made a decision that they're going to promote their agents by putting their picture on bus stops. And I've always thought that was kind of an interesting idea. I'm not sure they generated business or not, but there's literally thousands of ways for you to pay to get your name out. So the pros of that is it's a really quick way to grow your business, to turbocharge your business, and you'll grow very quickly. The cons are it gives you limited control. I've got a friend who's actually in insurance, and she did some advertising on billboards. And after a period of time, she withdrew that, and I asked her about it. And she said she was getting calls every day from people interested in or had found her on that billboard. But the problem for her was these were not good leads, and they were taking up so much of her time, her staff's time, and she was chasing down these bad leads. And so she decided for her, it was not worth pursuing. Next, it's very expensive. I mean, I see agents that are spending 3 digits, 4 digits, 5 digits on a monthly basis to buy advertising. And you have to make sure that is productive for you to grow your business and it fits your model. I would argue that you probably need a 3x return to justify that advertising expense. I've seen some people who will go 2.5x and some will say 4x multiple. But basically, what that means is that if you're spending $100 each month, your return off of that needs to be somewhere around $300 per month. Do y'all find that you're seeing something similar in your advertising efforts?
Well, I primarily do Google, either pay per click, well, both pay per click and the local ads, and one of those has done way better than the other, and the one that's doing less in returns is actually the one that costs the most. But I will say that if you can get 1 or 2 closings off of it, you're usually in the green. But it can be, you can go months without getting to that point. So you got to have that money up front to be able to float it along.
Dakota, have you actually sat down and looked at the amount of money that you're spending on advertising and the amount of revenue you generated directly from that advertising?
No, I have not. Definitely probably should, and it'd probably make me a little upset.
Don't want to put you on the spot here. I want you to come back and join us again next week. But it would be interesting if you were to do a study of your own business and see what your actual return looks like from your
Yeah,
advertising efforts.
sure.
Another con I have listed here is follow up. If you start your advertising and you start to generate leads, if you don't have the ability to follow up with them in a timely manner, you're throwing away money. A lot of the experts say that you need to respond to an online lead within 5 minutes of its generation. Personally, I don't have the ability to call somebody within a 5 minute window after that lead comes in. So unless you have some really good process in place, you're potentially not going to see a good return based on the follow up of that. Okay. And then the last pathway to success is what I'm going to call a community presence. And the way I define this is very simple. There's a connection the agent has with a large group of people who know who that agent is, and they know that agent is in real estate. But the agent, him or herself, does not necessarily know all those people. So that's the difference between a community presence and your sphere of influence in terms of how I'm defining it. And there are a lot of different ways you could be a presence in the community, such as being a part of your church and serving in that, being a part of your PTA at your children's schools, being involved in different civic groups. I have been a member of Rotary for 11 years, and it's been a great source of business for me as I've served along with many people, both in my community and in other communities throughout the Southeast. HOA, I serve as president of my neighborhood's HOA. It's probably the most thankless job I've had in the last 11 years. I probably would not want to do it again, but I've seen people in the real estate business serve in an HOA capacity, and it's been a great way for them to grow. And then content creators. This is kind of a new addition to me. And I spent some time thinking about people who create content such as this that goes on YouTube or Instagram. And assuming that you're not paying to expand your reach, I feel like this is probably the best place to put it because one, you're growing it organically, which means there's not a cost associated with it. Two, you're getting exposure to a lot of people who are going to identify you with real estate, but you don't actually know personally. So pros, you get to choose your own. So let's say, for instance, you want to work in luxury space. Well, maybe way to do that is to go get really involved in a country club. And then you start playing golf, you playing tennis with these people, you're engaged in whatever activities they are. Well, you've now become familiar with these high net worth individuals, and it's a good way for you to move into the luxury space. And it was a great way to get high exposure among these folks. And then you'll generate a lot of goodwill on your service and your involvement. The cons are it can be really awkward if things don't go well. So if you have somebody from church who asks you to help them sell a house and they have a bad experience, now you've had something that's going to impact your professional relationship, but it also impacts your personal relationships as well. And then just perception, there could be an awkwardness where if you're serving in a PTA, but you're trying to be overly aggressive promoting real estate business, I think that could work against you. And as I have gone through growing my business, being involved in the community has been one way I saw to help certain business. In my town, Carterville, our mayor is a realtor. One of our aldermen is a realtor. As Rachel mentioned, I served on our school board, and I served while I was an active real estate agent as well. So we do see a lot of real estate professionals serving in a variety of different capacities. Have any of you functioned in this role and it's been helpful for your real estate business?
Yeah, I lead a couple church groups. Actually, my best and most profitable real estate transaction came from a Friday morning men's group. We go eat breakfast every Friday morning with church, and also involved with the Chamber of Commerce and the gun club and a bunch of other fun stuff. So there's plenty of ways to meet folks.
Absolutely.
I was
And I
at a,
think
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to say I was a community coach for the local high school and ended up a lot of the staff members and stuff that were also associated with the coaching position ended up looking to me and asking me to help them either buy a house or sell a house. So that was ways that I've kind of been involved in the community.
Isn't that a lot more fun than trying to design a postcard to mail out to a neighborhood or develop some new marketing strategy to put out there on Instagram?
It feels a lot more organic because you are, you're doing something completely not related to real estate, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, and by the way, I want to buy a house. Can you help me?"
Exactly. So
Well, and I
those are
don't
the
know
five.
if it. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
Craig.
go ahead, Josh.
I don't know if it falls into this category though. I think that it does. I mean, we host a real estate meetup. We kind of took the community presence and was like, let's figure out how to do it on our own terms. So we worked with a friend and we have a monthly meetup that's turned into a Facebook group that's now turned into webinars, which has turned into a newsletter, which has turned into coffee meetups throughout the month as well. And it's very hyper local focused right here, South Atlanta. And it's been pretty huge for us. Probably, Rachel, what do you say, 50%, 60% of our transactions?
Yeah, definitely over 50.
Josh, just to repeat, you started that group?
Say it again, Frank.
Just to repeat, make sure I heard you correctly. Did you start that group?
I did. Me and I have another investor friend, but we're real estate investors as well. So we started it together, and then my partner is actually moving out of the country. So we are now in the process of moving it fully into our real estate agency brand, and that has been kind of cool. So we'll actually have everything directly sort of under one house. But yeah, man, it's been huge.
I think you make a really good point there. Is you don't have to necessarily try to work within the confines of an existing group. You could go out and start your own group, and hopefully you're going to draw like-minded people to you and to your group. And that's a great way to serve others as well as hopefully generate business for yourself. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks. By the way, this presentation's great. Thank you, Frank. I'm learning a ton over here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments about the community presence pathway? Okay.
I've got a kind of sort of question.
Mhm.
Do you find like the combining one or two of these, like for example, Dakota is like I'm jealous of him and some of the stuff that he's had success with on his Google ads. And I wish that I could figure out how to combine some of the marketing in that with our community stuff to, for the ultimate sword to wield, but I haven't figured out how to combine it like that. I don't know if what I'm asking makes sense, but do you advise, or would you say if you were us to pick one of these channels and just continue to stay in it and dig down deep?
I think if you're starting off, I would absolutely try to master one of these pathways or channels. But as you go forward, you might find your interest drawing you somewhere else. For me, historically, I've been on the sphere and on the community, and those have a lot of overlap. Now, I meet with people while through my service, and they eventually become my friends, so they move into my sphere group. But I still try to work better pathways. What I found is over the last 6 months, 12 months, I'm more interested on the technology side. Specifically, I'm trying to ramp up the learning curve on AI. And so I think there's going to be opportunities for me to go in that space, which maybe is going to be more on the advertising side, where I'm going to eventually start paying clicks on Google or whatever source out there that I want to pursue and follow kind of what Dakota sounds. It sounds like Dakota's doing.
That's great. Thank you.
Mhm. But good question. So I got one more slide here, and this is called conversion ratios. I first saw this in a ninja selling seminar, but the information comes straight from NAR. And the way to interpret this is if you were to do a certain type of activity, how many engagements would it take to have one closing? So, for instance, the first line up there, direct mail, is between 1,500 and 2,500 pieces of direct mail on average will generate one closing. Now, obviously, you could send out a letter and you hit the person at the right time, or you could send out 5,000, 10,000, and not get a single closing. But on average, that's what NAR is telling us is between 1,500 and 2,500 direct mail pieces will produce a closing. Door knocking, 80 to 120 homes that you knock on, doors that you knock on, should produce a single closing. What's kind of interesting to me is I attended Agent Wise Summit last year, and there's a gentleman, I think his name is Stephen Ross, who presented. He built his business off of door knocking, and he literally knocked on 125,000 doors in his market over, I think, a multi-decade career to generate his business. But it's kind of interesting to me is if you look at this, the items at the bottom of this sheet are going to have the highest return on your effort, but they also require your effort to be successful. Versus if you use the line, you pursue strategies at the upper part of this graphic, those are things that you're not directly involved in after you get them put together and automated. So if you want to work with past buyers and past sellers, the key is to stay in front of them, which means you got to continue to cultivate that relationship. That's going to continue to take effort on your part. If you want to do internet leads, you just design your ad, submit the information to Google, and then you kind of sit back and wait for them to come in. So it's all about what strategy you want to pursue and how you want to best grow your business. And I have this last slide right here, resources. I mentioned earlier, Stephen Ross, he wrote this book, Doors Open When We Knock. I actually bought the book, and it talks about how he built his career. I don't want a door knock. It's not something I want to do, but what's really interesting to me is he learned some things about the business that are universal. And I learned a lot by reading that book just based upon his experience. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. It was written about 15, 20 years ago. It's a very good book, though it's a little bit dated, but it's got a comprehensive overview on how to grow a real estate business. Underneath there, you see Ninja Selling. That's by Larry Kendall. It's all on building a business based upon relationships and how to cultivate those relationships. And then in the bottom left, you'll see Agent Wise by and Neil Mathwood. The thing I like about Neil's program is it is customizable. One of the things Neil learned and promotes is there's not one single system to run a business. In order for you to be successful, you need to grow a business that works for you. And so if you're getting into the business and you like to read, I would encourage you to look at these books and pick them up. And that is our presentation. So I appreciate you joining us today on the review. If you would provide any feedback, either you can reach out to me directly, and there's my contact information, or if you want to leave a comment on the video, I think we're going to post it to YouTube in the next day or two. I greatly appreciate that. If there's something you would like for us to discuss in the future, leave that comment there and we will certainly look into that. And then I have the link to our site right there as well. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Rachel.
All right, that was so awesome. Thank you so much for presenting today on how to survive your first 5 years in real estate. I know Josh said that he learned a lot. I definitely enjoyed seeing all of the information, and I felt like I learned a lot as well. So as we wrap up, kind of like what Frank said, if you're watching on replay and if you want to be part of these conversations live, again, you can join us every Thursday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. by signing up right here at thereagenthive.com, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch every Hive Live session on demand. Thank you guys for being part of the Hive. Keep building with intention, keep showing up with integrity, and we will see you next week. We are going to stop the recording and start our Q&A session, and we will be back same place, same time next week. Thanks.